Welcome in to the Bracket Bunker, to the Crypto Bunker podcast. Uh, Today we're going to be going over Bitcoin and why I believe Bitcoin is going to $1 million. First, we're going to talk about money. Money is a technology. It's a way to transfer value that two people agree on, a way to harness energy and transfer that energy around efficiently. Bitcoin is the best method we have ever found to transfer value across time and space. You can move $1 billion across the world in a matter of 30 minutes for probably around $100 on the Bitcoin network. With gold, you cannot come close to that efficiency. With dollars, you cannot come close to that efficiency. The security and trustworthiness behind the transactions is completely foolproof. As long as you send your Bitcoin to the exact right address, it's going to get there. It's never not gotten there. The network has never failed or double spent a transaction or been hacked. With traditional banking, this type of transaction would take days to send across the world. You have to deal with a bank, then you have to deal with an intermediary bank, and then your money finally might be wired in 3 days or something like that. Bitcoin takes 30 minutes and it's totally reliable. The security behind the network is unprecedented. The computer network of miners and nodes who run the network is probably the largest computer network in the world. It's the largest collective of people and computers who are all working towards a goal, and that goal is the success of the Bitcoin network. There are over 1 million Bitcoin miners who currently secure the network. So you know that it's a very secure network that you want to be part of. And the thing is, it gets more secure as more people use it. So as we pass the word along to others about Bitcoin, the more secure our asset is that we hold. So it's Metcalfe's law. It's a network effect. Another reason why I'm holding Bitcoin till the end, no matter what, I truly believe in the Bitcoin community. The community can be harsh to some, but they're defending their asset to the death. They are convicted beyond any conviction I've ever seen. Because of this, they set the price floor for Bitcoin. There will always be a community of people who are buying this asset into the future, regardless of what happens to the price. They will be there, hodling, holding on for dear life. As long as they don't shut the internet down, they will continue to scoop up these coins. The community is one consciousness of people who are trying to bring awareness to others of how Bitcoin has changed their life in a positive way. They're creating a force of financial education for others. And I know that as someone who is only a year into the Bitcoin community, my financial education has gone through the roof in the past year, just from listening to these people. And I feel like I've gone through like 20,000 hours of Bitcoin content. And it's amazing. I learn something new every day. And a lot of us wouldn't have got that without Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is creating a positive impact on the world and the environment. When you become a Bitcoiner, it changes the way you live your life. You live more sustainable. You begin to feel more at peace when you know your monetary energy cannot be debased and printed. Time and effort are put into the value that you create when you work. If you are storing that time and that value in an asset that can be debased and printed and increased in supply endlessly, you're going to inherently feel like shit, regardless of if you know that how you feel or not. Okay, it's subconscious. People don't understand what they're feeling. I felt this way my whole life. Trying to find a way out of this system that we're in today, it's like seems impossible for many, right? And when you go to work from in a 9-to-5 job, you feel like you're creating this value and energy, but it's not saving. right? It's not going to get you to retirement. The only way you can retire is if you put it into the stock market, right? So we've had a generation of these baby boomers who have propped the stock market up because that's the only way that they can retire. They can't retire by saving money because they print money every year, right? And that goes into the stock market. So the only way they can keep up and be able to retire is to invest in stocks. So me personally, when I first started making money, I couldn't save it. I didn't know what to do, right? I just felt like, man, I'm only making like $2,600 a month, and it just wasn't. It didn't feel like, oh, if I save this for 2 years, with rent expenses and with food expenses and with, entertainment and like other things, how am I going to possibly save up enough money to where I'm going to be able to buy a house? Because real estate is also going up in value. So you have to understand, you have to keep up with these assets that you want in life. If you want that house, you want to buy a share of the S&P 500, like you're not going to be able to do it by saving up cash. Those values continue to increase, and Bitcoin is the greatest example of something that not only keeps up with money printing, it outpaces it. It's up 200% a year on average, compounding. S&P 500 is up 24%. Cost of capital, Michael Saylor talks about it all the time. He talks about the fact that the cost of capital is 24% now. That's why we see the S&P 500 up that 24%, is because it's a collective of all the top corporations in the country, and those are the best corporations we have, right? That's not even counting the other businesses who probably aren't keeping up. So now that I've found Bitcoin and knowing exactly what my savings asset is doing, it's freed my mind of stress and significantly lowered the amount of frequency from which I gamble that money away. Because when you know that the value of Bitcoin you hold is designed to deflate in supply over time, it gives you freedom to focus on health, wellness, spirituality, and much more. Let's talk about scarcity. There are only 18 million coins. Regardless of what happens, there's only going to be 21 million ever made. Regardless of what happens to the price in the short term, to those people who sell their coins are going to be washed away in the end. There are traders who hold a lot of Bitcoin who like to sell their coins. It takes time to fully wash those people out of the system. But in the end, the only reason that they sell is because they want to get a lower Bitcoin price. That's so the only reason that they would ever sell is because they're trying to crash the price to get more Bitcoin. So in the end, and when that time comes, there will be a mad rush to get in, because even the people who sell their coins, they know what Bitcoin is for the most part. For the most part, the people who are in Bitcoin are looking to get more Bitcoin because they know that it's infinitely more scarce as dollars become infinitely more prevalent. So make the choice. And again, the great thing about the supply of Bitcoin is that we know for a fact what will happen to the supply over time. Let's talk about the dollar. The dollar has spread more war, crime, pain, energy usage, and death than any other asset on the planet. Bitcoin promotes peace. The dollar is the reason why we have to enter these wars, to defend the fact that we are the world reserve currency. And the dollar is the reason we had to go to Iraq, the petrodollar system, right? That's what the dollar is based off. It's based off oil. Oil is traded in dollars throughout the world. So, if there's any talk of anyone that going against that, we're probably going to cause a war over it. In 1971, when we went off the gold standard, ever since we've had more disease, more war, more crime, more drugs have all increased. It may just be a coincidence, you know, but the government would never have been able to fund all of those wars without the ability to print money because there was no gold to back it up. That's why they had to delink it. So you have to understand that for them to have their agenda that they want to complete, for the corruption to happen throughout the world, the endless printing needs to continue. And so these people will defend their system to the death. And that's why Bitcoin is important no matter what. No matter what the price does, it's important to continue to use the system because they're going to try probably to wreck the system a little bit, to the Bitcoin system. They're going to say it uses too much energy, right? Like China is investigating some Bitcoin mining operations. So they're going to try to say maybe, it might just be nothing, but they might try to say, you can't mine here anymore because of the energy usage, and that would be a big hit to Bitcoin's power. But we're going to always have countries who want to adopt the Bitcoin standard, and I think the U.S. could be one of these. I really do. I think I want to have hope. I want to have positivity, and I want to believe that the U.S. is going to adopt Bitcoin. But then you have New York coming out the other day and saying they're going to investigate the Bitcoin mining energy. And really, in my opinion, what this is all about is defending the fiat money system. It's not about energy. We already went over the fact that the dollar is the reason for all of these problems and all these energy issues. The government, again, they will try to defend their fiat money system, but the only way that we can continue to survive as a country is to continue to print dollars, because we're in a constantly increased technology world. And what does technology do? It makes things easier, it makes things cheaper, and that's deflation. So the Fed has always been fighting against technology, the Federal Reserve. They've always been fighting against technology, which means they have to print. Not only that, now with the pandemic, a lot of these jobs aren't coming back. These people are screwed without being, paid this free money that the government is giving out. And the only reason they can give it out is because the Fed prints it. And the crazy thing is, honestly, about the bond market, which is like $100 trillion that's in the bond market. Think about that. Bitcoin's 1 trillion. The crazy thing is, the government lends out, gets the money from the Fed. The Fed prints it. Then the government puts that money up for sale on the bond market. So you can buy US treasuries and you can earn an interest for funding the debt. But if no one wants to buy those bonds, the Fed then has to buy those bonds. So not only is the Fed printing the money, the government is taking that money, creating bonds, moving that money out into society. They are creating bonds, and if no one wants to buy those bonds, the interest rate rises. And that's when the Fed has to step in. Because if the interest rate rises, there's so much debt that people can't pay it back. The government can't pay it back. The government needs the interest rates to be lower because they have so much debt now. So the Fed has to come in and what's called yield curve control. They have to buy the bonds to lower the interest rate back down because the economy is not doing well. But the fact that they continue to print is going to cause inflation, and inflation causes interest rates to rise. So they are backed into a full out corner, the Fed. They have to print no matter what happens. They cannot let the system deflate. So people that say, oh, there's going to be a huge stock crash and like, there's going to be all this pain and misery and, that they won't let that happen at this point. They can't. They have to continue to print, and that will cause inflation. And then it will cause more inflation because they have to buy the bonds to lower the interest rates. So not only are we giving out free money to the people, the bond the Fed is buying bonds and bailing out the people who are selling their bonds, which are smart. People are smart to sell their bonds because you're being devalued at a 24% rate per year. You're yielding 20 or 2% on a bond. You're losing 22% of your value in bonds. Bonds are a promise to pay currency in the future. What if the currency is different in the future? How can you even trust it at this point? So I'll end it there, but I will go into the Bitcoin monetary network. The network effect. Metcalfe's law states that the value of a telecommunications network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users to the system. All of these technology companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft have not actually been trading based on their earnings and their value. They trade based on the adoption curve of the technology. People thought Amazon was just books. They thought Google was just something on the internet where you typed in a search bar, right? They thought Apple was just computers. So all of these things have been widespread adopted, and Apple's a great example because everyone wants an Apple iPhone because then they can iMessage with their friends, right? Like you're part of this network that creates a community of people. That's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a monetary network, which will be worth more than all of those combined, considering the fact that the issues we're having with the money right now in the country, plus every time that a new person comes into Bitcoin, that increases the price. So you have a feedback mechanism. So if I get you to invest in Bitcoin, then I make money off that. You get someone else to invest in Bitcoin, you make money off that. It's a network effect. So it's on its way to 1 billion users, and the technology behind Bitcoin has proven that it's scalable and can support $1 trillion in value. And I think from here on out, we're on the way up to 300,000 this year. And there's no way to stop it at this point. And, let's talk about the corporations. So we have some corporations who've bought it so far. We have Fidelity, we have MicroStrategy, we have Tesla, we have Square, we have Coinbase becoming public. People still don't understand how early we are to this. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin's only $58,000 is a miracle, and I think a lot of it is price manipulation. It's these rich people who they know what's coming, and they work with the news. They work with CNBC and all these different news stations to come out with stories to scare people out. And it's very, very obvious. It's been proven over time by many Bitcoiners that when they tell people bad news is when they are buying. They try to crash the price and then they buy. So almost every major bank in the US has come out at this point with a Bitcoin plan and service. If you saw NYDIG come out the other day and say, we're working with hundreds of banks, they might be smaller banks, who are going to offer Bitcoin to their customers. And people can hold Bitcoin in their bank because they're seeing how many people are taking money out of the bank and putting it into Coinbase and Kraken. They literally said that. People don't even want to hold money in a bank anymore. They'd rather hold it in, US dollar coin. which is run on Ethereum, or rather hold it in DAI or Tether or whatever, or just hold it on Coinbase and USD. So we have insurance companies buying Bitcoin now and exploring the ability to pay people's policies in Bitcoin in the future. They're working with NYDIG. So we already have insurance companies with Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We have endowment funds in the Ivy League who are buying Bitcoin. We have almost every macro investor in the world buying Bitcoin. We have a Bitcoin ETF on the way in the United States. We have a blockchain enthusiast who's running the SEC now, Gary Gensler, who's taught classes on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Again, Coinbase going public, that's huge. That's acceptance. That's broad range acceptance. So if you see a news story that scares you, understand all of these people are buying Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin on exchanges is at an all-time low in terms of the coins that are held on exchanges. The richest people in the world are pulling Bitcoin off exchanges and putting it into cold storage wallets. If this isn't a sign of the rich Wall Street people accepting Bitcoin, I don't know what is. This is a generational opportunity, and I cannot stress this enough. Bitcoin is going to $1 million. I don't know when, but I think it will be within the next 5 years. We will see Bitcoin at $1 million. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.